and welcome to Walking and Talking with Mrs. Smith. I'm Mrs. Smith and I'm a Christian. If you've seen my videos before, you'll know that my channel is just me ambling and musing about all things Christian. So today I've come briefly to Connaught Park in Dover in Kent in the UK. And today is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to tell you a short story that I heard. So pause this video, get yourself a cuppa and a snack and get comfy. Now, this story I read online years ago and I can't remember who it was written by. So if you've heard it before and you know, please do let me know in the comments. There was once a young woman, we'll call her Sarah. And Sarah had been really struggling with her life. So one day Sarah went to her mum and told her that things were really hard for her and that she didn't know how she was going to get through all of her troubles. And Sarah told her mum that sadly she had even thought about giving up on life altogether. Sarah was in a bad place emotionally, you see, and was just tired of fighting and struggling all the time. It always seemed as one problem was solved, a new problem arose. After giving Sarah a big cuddle and telling Sarah how much she loved her, Sarah's mum took her into the kitchen and she filled 3 saucepans with water and she placed each saucepan on the hob to boil and then she started chopping carrots. I mean, Sarah assumed her mum was making her something to eat to help her to feel better, so she let her get on with it. Anyway, soon all of the water in the saucepans came to the boil, and in the first saucepan, Sarah's mum placed the chopped carrots, and in the second saucepan, she put some eggs. But in the last saucepan, she put some ground coffee beans. Sarah was a bit bemused by all of this. Sarah's mum let them all sit and boil in their pots without saying a word. Sarah looked a bit confused, and she didn't really understand what her mum was doing, to be honest, but her mum looked quietly determined, so Sarah just kept quiet. After about 10 minutes, Sarah's mum took the eggs out of the boiling water and turned off the coffee. And then after a further 5 minutes, Sarah's mum turned off the hob, and she got the carrots out of the water and placed them in a bowl. Then she put the eggs in another bowl, and finally she ladled the coffee out of the saucepan and placed that in a cup. And then she turned to Sarah and she said, "Sarah, tell me what you see." Sarah thought this must be a trick question, but she decided to play along anyway. So Sarah said, "Carrots, eggs and coffee?" Sarah's mum brought her closer and asked her to feel the carrots. She did this carefully because they were still hot, but as she picked up a few carrots, they were soft and broke in her hands. Her mum then asked her to take an egg and shell it. So again, she humoured her mum and did this, and after pulling off the shell, she saw that the egg was hard-boiled. Finally, her mum asked her to sip the coffee. Sarah did this again, carefully, as it was still hot. But Sarah smiled as she tasted how lovely and rich the coffee was. Sarah then asked her mum, "Look, I'm sorry, Mum, but I don't understand. What is all this about?" Sarah's mum said, "Sarah, which one of these are you when trouble knocks on your door? How do you respond? Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean?" Sarah's mum could see Sarah looked even more confused now, so she explained that each of these objects had been through exactly the same ordeal, the boiling water, but that they had all reacted differently in the water. The carrots, well, they went in strong and tough and hard, but after being subjected to the boiling water, they softened and became weak and broke apart. The eggs had been fragile in the beginning. Their thin outer shell had protected their fragile interior, but after sitting in the boiling water, their insides became firmer, rubbery even. Everything would now just bounce right off them. But the ground coffee beans, they were unique. After they'd been in the boiling water, they had actually changed the water. Okay, so why am I telling you this story? Well, when I read it years ago, I wondered which one of these I was. I mean, am I like the carrots that are strong and tough, but with too much heat I become weaker and lose my strength altogether? Or am I like the eggs that start with a very fragile centre, but over time when I get into hot water, do I become hard? Does my shell look the same on the outside, but on the inside I'm tough with a hardened heart? Or am I like the coffee beans? Remember, the beans actually change the hot water, the really intense environment that they were sat in. So as I say, I read this story years ago and I saw it again recently and it reminded me. And I have to be honest and admit that sometimes I feel a bit like the carrots and sometimes I feel a bit like the eggs. But rarely do I feel like the coffee beans. The coffee beans really made me think. They made me think about how I handle tough situations in my life. When the water gets hot. You know, when the water got hot for the coffee beans, instead of being changed by their environment, the coffee beans relaxed into the water. And because they relaxed, they released all of the fragrance and flavour of what was inside of them into that environment. And I thought to myself, do I do that when things get tough for me? Do I try to release all the goodness and the peace and the love that God has put inside of me, that God has given to me? Do I release that into my environment when things around me are going wrong? And then I went to my Bible, and at the time I was reading the New International Version, and I found a verse in the Bible in the book of Colossians in chapter 3. And it said, I think it said, as God's people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness and patience, which all sound really lovely until things start going wrong, until I start to struggle or suffer or get into hot water. And then all of that good stuff, well, it sometimes goes out the window. But if I can do that, if I can release all of the love and kindness and compassion from me when my environment becomes tough, then instead of becoming hard-hearted like the eggs, or becoming weaker and breaking apart like the carrots, I can actually affect the environment around me in a positive way by seeping into it the love and the peace that God has given to me, and He gives me every day when I mess up. So this story that I read years ago and that I was reminded of recently made me think about how I handle adversity. And I guess it reminded me that although I sometimes think that I can't cope with stuff or that I'm not strong, that true strength, you know, really comes from being true to who you are inside, through endurance and overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't do. And so I wanted to share this with you all and ask you guys whether you're a Christian or not. When things get tough for you, are you more like the carrots, the eggs, or the coffee beans? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you'll agree this is a really peaceful place to come. Connaught Park in Dover. Thanks for walking and talking with me again, lovely people. God bless, and I'll see you next time. Bye.